Welcome to Swap Radio, sponsored by Art Super, a getaway to exploring the intersection of identity, tradition, and the future in this 7th edition of Swap. In this series, we've dived deep with curators, artists, and galleries to explore the pivotal role of art in shaping cultural identities. Let's spark bold conversation on the power of art, the pull of tradition, and what it means to craft our identities in a global age. We are pleased to welcome Carla Jaria and Yipei. The creators of solo show in Tradition and Innovation, the role of emerging art in Barcelona and Taipei. I would like to propose you two multiple questions, and after that, please feel free to talk a little bit about this thematic. The first question I'd like to propose you is, how do you perceive the key intersections between the artistic ecosystem of Barcelona and Taipei? That's the first question.
Well, I think when Yipei and myself started to kind of talk about this program, the first thing that we recognized as an encounter point between artists from Barcelona and Taipei was that there's a general concern that it's been explored through the artistic practice as the collective identity and who we are within this world, this changing world, this digitalized world, this world that is being controlled by capitalism and all the dynamics that are kind of shaping our identities and our behaviors. So yeah, I think this was the starting point of our dialogues as curators, but also between the artists that we proposed within the spaces that are part of this program. And yeah, we started to see similarities between works, maybe even if it was with different approaches or artistic practices between like painting, sculpture, installation, but at the same time, the common concerns were there.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also think about where the Carla bring the different perspective from the artist collective or the independent art space practice. We see and then observe there are so many issues that are highlighting nowadays. For example, the artists are taking care about the environmental issue, ecological issues. And meanwhile, they already travel a lot to gain a different education background, but back to their hometown. They are looking forward how to bring this dynamic internationally, geographically, or environmentally that can create another intersection of these dialogues.
The second question I'd like to propose you is that in what ways do independent spaces serve as catalysts for artistic innovation and development with these cities? And how do they contribute to the dialogue between cultural tradition and contemporary practice in an increasingly globalized world?
From my perspective or from my observation, I think nowadays in Taipei, if the artists want to set up the independent art space, actually it's very difficult. Especially, we're also facing the gentrification. We're also facing a lot of the new capitals or the new frustrations after the pandemic. The rent, the price, and the costs are rising like incredibly in Taipei. And so it's very difficult that also how the artists can gather and then using so-called this collective power to taking care to build the relationship or even to rebuild the relationships a while.
Yeah, I think here it's more or less the same. I mean, when Yipei is talking about these concerns, I think we have more or less the same situation here. The gentrification is making art spaces to move outside the big cities as Barcelona. You know, here in the program, we brought 2 spaces from Hospitalet, Llobregat, which is part of Barcelona, but still it's on the, on the suburbs of the city. So on the other side, I feel like what she was saying about collective care, and I feel like these spaces kind of have the power to generate collective structures of people sharing the same concerns and trying to build this care that we need to move forward in this contemporary society. In terms of the past, I think maybe it wasn't that typical to have these independent spaces. Before, Barcelona had like more commercial galleries or institutions, but now the number of independent spaces is growing and growing, not just run by artists, but also by people who's into the art world, cultural managers, curators, who want artists to have the voice within the art circuit, you know? And on the other side, these spaces bring light to this collectiveness, which we all need to take care of each other.
Interesting. Thank you for that reply. The last two questions for you. The first one is actually, what role do independent art space play in shaping the future of emerging artists in Barcelona and Taipei? And how these spaces collaborate or contrast with commercial galleries to provide support? And what challenges do they face in sustaining their relevance and operation amidst the evolving dynamics of the art market?
I think from the perspective from Taipei, it was used to have the commercial gallery or the capitalist from abroad to set up the different the commercial marketplace in Taipei. But I think due to other like tension of the political situation, we are now all facing there's the dynamics we have to encounter. For example, we know the traditional way the gallery used to sell the artwork in the market. But for the young generation, we are difficult to survive as an independent artist or independent curator. And while other like young generation of artists, when they return to Taiwan, they are also harder to find a platform to showcase themselves. So in terms of this kind of way, we're trying to look for the alternative, such as like using the publication as the way to distribute our content production, to express our artist practice. And sometimes we have to set up different programs, for example, sometimes in Taipei or in Berlin. And then the artist collective are trying to look for the more resource and opportunity to showcase this concept. Just want to gather more international attention about this tiny space what we are facing. And then also more young people or young galleries, they have the vision and the vision, want to set up a new energy and then to help the new talent to get into the commercial art market. So I think right now in Taipei or in Taiwan, more or less, it's more comfortable and more vibrant than 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think in Barcelona, it's more or less the same in these terms. Independent spaces are bringing to light artists that might not have the opportunity to show their work in commercial galleries or institutions previously, but also these spaces play a crucial role in giving visibility to these artists so they can, at some point, be part of a bigger picture, which means institutions and commercial galleries. So sometimes these independent spaces is like the first step for an artist to experiment, to collaborate, and to do their own work in not having limitations, you know, even though there's limitations in these spaces because they are usually run by people who has a view.
Do you mean that the limitation is the art market actually?
I don't know if it's the limitation, but of course it dictates what is important in a certain period of time, you know. Nowadays, painting is coming back. We're seeing it like in the gallery. Some years ago, it was conceptual art, sculpture. And by this, I don't mean that painting is not conceptual art anymore, because I think conceptual art is everywhere. But of course, sometimes commercial galleries have to be showing works that are part of the market. But the first phase of an art market, I think it's behind the scenes. And these independent spaces, I think they kind of make this function. So it's a way to start a movement, a way to start a dialogue with other ways of creating, other ways of expressing. But it is also challenging because you need to survive. And what Yipei was saying is the same here. The funds are very low. It's very difficult to survive as an independent space or as an independent artist or curator. So people just need to work and run their own space. So it's also a matter of balance. Of course, if you're an artist, you would like to be in, not everyone, but in general, you would like to be in a commercial gallery because the visibility is higher. But the behind the scenes, it's very interesting because it's where things grow and happen. And also this, I think for me and this past years, I've been very interested in the politics of care. And after the pandemic, how this kind of change in the way of curating and the way of doing exhibitions. And this is very present in the in independent spaces. I don't know if that's present in the art market by now.
And then I also want to add on a little bit, like used to understand the commercial gallery pay the higher cost for the art fair to be part of the commercial art market, while the independent artist or the experimental art is hardly to get the attention and then show the visibility. So what we are doing right now, I think we are just try to get more either attention, but also to understand there is not a contradictions between the experimental art and the commercial art. It's just part of the way how we look at the art through the more macro angle, more established artist practice, or we can pay a little bit attention and the patience to look at what the emerging artists or talents are doing. And eventually, the ecosystem will grow and then continuously. And then the global is also shaking another dynamic and the voices for the rest of the creators and the curators and the artists.
It's the perfect suggestion that I was waiting for. Super interesting. Thank you so much for your participation. And
thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.